Hey guys, what is up? It's Rob here, and welcome back to another video. This is a brand new series, and in this one I hope to show some useful tips for those wanting to learn chambers, as well as maybe earn ourselves some solo purples along the way. So our gear setup for today's video is very basic. The most expensive items are the D Warhammer and the Lightbearer, but I would highly recommend these if you are trying to do solo chambers. It should also be noted that we're taking in a salve amulet EI as well as an antidote, and those are room-specific items for mystics and shamans, so make sure you can check the description to see if there's any items you need for specific rooms. Alright, so we're gonna get right into it here, and it is good to pray melee against these, although they don't really do too much damage, but probably good just to be safe. Now, it is a note, you probably want to pre-pot if you want to be super safe. Here we're kind of just running in there. We're pretty confident here, and we can sip our antidote because it's the second room that shamans are in, so we don't have to worry too much about running out of antidote. The thing lasts a very long time. And thralls are what we have in our spellbook here. They're like super good for the whole raid, but especially Ulm in particular. So we're especially going to want thralls for Ulm, because the Ulm head will only turn if you do damage, and the thralls will basically ensure that we always do damage. You'll see the Dragon Crossbow with Ruby Dragon Bolt's E is like really good against Mystics, and also really good against Ulm, of course. Thrall will eventually make its way over here, although it may take it some time. As you see, we do quite good damage. And this is a little corner safe spot. Sometimes on certain corners you can corner safe spot these. It's somewhat like the Inferno, actually, if you know the Inferno at all. It's a little bit like a corner safe spot there. You know, not that I would know anything about the Inferno, but, you know, just saying. A fire cave haver. So these seeds, you can opt to pick them up, but we'll probably pick them up actually, but we have shamans as well. Shamans, you can also pick up the seeds as well. So here we want to put the right amulet on. We don't need our salve anymore for the rest of the raid, but it is worth it just for that room, just to make clear. Now, we got both of them on us, which is not ideal. So we're just going to kind of shoot and run around a little bit. You want to keep on the move because these things, every time they attack, they have a chance to throw a poison blob at you. It's going to do a lot of damage. That's that thing. We just want to keep moving. When they target you, they target your old position. So you see, if we keep moving, they're going to target our old position. So essentially, we're going to want to keep running around. Could use a stamina dose here. We will just use a stamina dose to be ultra safe. This is not at all the most efficient way to do this room, by the way. In general, you basically just want to get one of them on you. If you can isolate them so you're only dealing with one, it's going to be a lot less difficult. But this isn't too bad. As long as we keep... You want to notice when the guy jumps, he's going to jump to our old location as well. Nice, easy CA there. No idea what that is. Probably not getting hit by the poison. Which is what we want to do. We do not want to get hit by the poison. So he jumps, so we want to move from our old spot. They always target your old location pretty much for all their attacks. And when they summon the purple guys, you just want to move away from the purple guys. A little bit of a messy room, but showing that you don't really need to know any specific mechanics for pretty much any of the pre-Ulm rooms, in my opinion. Obviously, Ulm is a bit of a different story. It's pretty much the hardest part of the raid, especially in solo by far. Here, we're going to grab Buchu seeds. So if you have a layout where you get overloads, so this one we have Muttadiles, which drops overloads, we can skip the making of an overload, so you need the other two seeds to make the overload. Buchu is for everything else. So it is pretty easy if we have an overload room, an overload dropping room in the raid. It's very easy to pretty much just grab Buchu. So we'll hit the stamp pool just to be safe. Why not? And then crabs. So I will say I do have a plugin for this. It's called Crab Solver. So Crab Solver plugin is what gives me these marked tiles here, and I'll basically show you what they mean. You essentially want to get each crab on you. You want to get like 3 crabs on you, I guess, in this room. So get 3 crabs on you, and then these are the spots. The yellow you want to stun 2 crabs in, so stun this one, stun this one. You can do this without the plugin as well, but that was a little bit lucky, I'm not gonna lie. Kind of happy with that. And then here, we're just gonna... You can restun these every single orb, but you can also do every 2 orbs if you want. It's up to what you want. So here, we're gonna smash both of these, and then what we're gonna do is we're gonna tag this as to move it out of the path so that it's guaranteed to not get in the way. So that way we're 100% safe. So this is what I meant about, well, here we gotta... That was very, very fortunate. Alright, let's go. Alright, so sometimes things work out. Sometimes things don't work out in this room, but we'll attack both of them just to be safe. Alright, so that's how you do crabs. A little hard to explain in words, but hopefully you got the gist of it there. That's one layout. There's also another layout that's fairly common. There's another third layout that's not that common as well. It's like a very rare crabs. But regardless, we're on to Muttadiles. So now, Muttadiles, we want to have some kind of tanky gear on. So we're going to put on our hides in this case just to have some kind of defense. You can keep your mage gear on because we're going to want to mage this. Pray range, pray augury if you have it. And you want to grab this axe. So we're going to quickly chop the tree here. You can also brew down. It's not a huge deal. Our overall DPS doesn't really matter against this Muttadile. We're just trying to get it to 50%. Without passing 50%, that is. And you can keep brewing during this whole process, so we just want to be brewing as we need. And I'm going to see an XP drop, and I'll do something else, and then click back on the tree. So as soon as you see a woodcutting XP drop on the tree, you can do something else. So, for example, attack the Muttadile, or brew, or whatever. Otherwise, you want to really keep chopping this tree, because that's really the bottleneck in this room, is getting the tree chopped. As you can see, it's already at 70%, so we're going to very easily hit it towards 50. Don't want to go past 50. This might be risking it. We'll do it anyway. So now we can summon a Thrall. And really the Mystic top and bottom don't really give us any extra damage against this guy, really. We kind of just hit him anyway. You can wear the Mystic if you wanted, though. But what we're going to do is we're going to put on our crossbow. We can sip this overload from the small Muttadile. Little detail, but it's kind of nice. And we want to make sure we brew up as we need to, of course. Don't want to take any risks. And of course our ruby bolts are doing damage to us, which isn't great. Not really doing the best DPS against that when it's not full health. Yeah, sometimes the ruby bolts are a detriment, but majority of the time they're good, so still worth it. So here we can drop this old overload because we're going to get a brand new one now from the big Mutta. We can sip our brew just to get an inventory slot, you know, for efficiency. So that's pretty much the end of the room. So the room's, you know, really not the hardest part in solo chambers. Granted, those were very easy ones, but none of the rooms are really overly hard. I'd say for a learner, the hardest rooms are probably Vasa and Vespula. Vanguards are a little bit difficult, but not as hard as the other two. So that's why some people say to avoid the Vs. You can very easily learn them though, so I wouldn't avoid learning them for any reason really. But they are a little harder on your first couple raids, so it's okay to avoid them for a couple raids. Overall though, good raid so far. I mean, nothing really to complain about in the rooms. I might end up skipping some of the prep stuff, but actually, you know, I kind of want to show the prep actually, so maybe we won't skip any of the prep stuff. Keep it all in, keep it all in. Uncut Chambers is Eric gameplay, raw footage, 2025. So cool to be doing solo chambers. It's been quite a while. It just feels like such a nice place to be, though. I mean, I have so many fond memories of this place. Just really, I wouldn't say my favorite raid because I think Tob holds that position, but it's just a really great raid, this one. I love that you're able to solo it easy. That's the one thing about Tob that I would say is a downside is it would be nice for me to be able to solo Tob, but it's kind of a skill issue at the end of the day. So maybe one day I will, though. Maybe one day. Would be cool to say I've done it, I will say. So let's see. So we can make this pretty easy here. I mean, if we want to save time, we can pick up these. I'm thinking of what to do here. We're gonna deposit some of these just for inventory. I guess we can grab these and then, I mean, we don't really need, so Sicily is for prayer enhance. Mushrooms are for revitalization, which is restore. And then juice is for brews. So we only really need like a couple more brews maybe if we want to just go in with all raid brews, which are a little stronger than the regular sour brews. So it's worth taking though in raid ones if you can. I'm also rusty right now. This is like, I'm just rusty in doing this, but hopefully people are finding this entertaining somehow. Just kind of like a bit of a crazy raid. Pretty crazy. Now we're just gonna bang out this I'm gonna explain this like a pro. And actually here, let's first explain the prep. So we're gonna build the storage unit, not like 100% necessary, but we'll do it. It is nice. So here is my prep strategy. All right, my prep, what I do here is, I don't know why I am moving all my items. I actually want to show something specific with the items, so we're just gonna keep our mage equipped here. So just private, deposit all. We're gonna take out everything we need for prep. So all seconds, we take out seeds. We're going to go to here. We could just take all. You just hit 4, take all. Pick lots on the gourd tree. That gets your whole inventory full of vials. So we're gonna fill as many of these as we need. We probably don't need to fill every one of them because we probably don't need this many potions. If you're new, obviously make extra. It's not a big deal. Here, we need to drop some just because we need inventory space. We should have planted these seeds before, so again, we're rusty, but... Yeah, so before you do all that, you would have wanted to grab the tools, then before you do the gourd tree and everything, you'd want to plant these. That's the correct order, but not a huge deal. We are doing okay. Probably don't need the rake or the seed dibber, most likely, or the seeds, probably. If your farming is not 99, then might need more seeds. But usually with 99 farming, usually only need 1 to 2 seeds, which is very, very nice. So let's make, say, 6 brews. Or do we need more? Maybe we'll make 7 or 8. Who knows? Guess we already have some stuff, so you don't have to go crazy. Obviously, the newer you are, the more you should tend to make extras, but the more experienced you are, you can take some shortcuts, which is always very nice. Just make the bare minimum and it's all good. But here we'll make, I'd say, like 4 to 5 restores, and then these we can make into brews, and we're all good. We already have a prayer regen, which is Sicily. And then we would need the rest of them we would need all 3 of those for an overload if we needed an overload. But in this case, we had Muttadiles, so we have an overload already. A lot of rooms now drop an overload, so you don't typically tend to need the other seeds, is what I'm trying to say. So anyway, for Ulm, we're just going to get our inventory set up here. The easiest way to get your inventory set up is I start at the last item of my equipment here. If your items are all on the top of your inventory, it always works this way. So you go backwards from the last one. And we obviously don't need our salve amulet, but you see that just takes our items in the same order they were. So we have our melee 4-way in the corner there. Everything is all set up like we like. We want to take our staminas out. For Ulm, of course, we need staminas. Overload, prayer enhance. I would say 4 revites and the rest brews, so it looks like we made just enough. I'd say we're pretty much ready just to go in, although I guess what we can do is we could just pre-pot out here. This is a little bit unnecessary. It's like a little bit extra to do this, but by all means you can if you would like to. We can actually just take our own brew just so we have maximum healing, make sure we have full everything. So here for Olm, you can de-warhammer twice per phase. You always want to start the phase by de-warhammering, so that's why we're gonna start here in our melee gear, I guess the amulet as well. So you always want to de-warhammer right away so that your spec starts regenning, which is really important. So here, Olm starts on this side. Sorry for the crazy mark tiles, by the way. It is a little bit crazy. So we're only going to be able to get one spec off. We'll get the other one off eventually. But the important thing is we want to summon our Mage Thrall. And you see, the main thing here is every time Olm turns, we want to attack at the same time. So what we do is we're going into the middle here now, attacking when Olm turns, going to the right side, attacking when Olm turns, and getting dragged. Attacking here when Olm turns, attacking here when Olm turns. So Olm is on a 5-tick cycle, 4-tick rather. Olm is on a 4-tick cycle as well as us. We're on a 4-tick cycle. Now, if you messed up, say like you miss an attack here or something, all you do is you need to kind of, one way you can do it is feeling out the timing. Here, I noticed I was early, so I'm like gonna wait an extra tick. So it's like there's a couple of ways you can kind of fix it if you get off a cycle, but the key thing here is you want to be on the same tick as Olm turning for the mage hand. So every time you hit on the mage hand, you want to be doing it the same time as Olm is doing his action. Don't have to worry too much about prayer conservation, and we should probably just hit our stamina early. And as you can see, very, very cheap gear, like literally mystics. I think that's it, so it looks like it's not. Alright, so for melee hand, okay, that's also not it. Darn it. Oh my god. How does it... Okay, this is the mage gear. I'm blaming the mage gear. Oh my god. Okay. Alright, so melee gear on. We can brew up here. You want to play safe, so you want to dodge the crystals falling. And then the key here is you want to attack one tick after Olm attacks or does his thing. So just like this, you see, I'm waiting for Olm to attack here. Oh, actually, I just got hit, so I can't do anything. But now it's going to be portals. We're going to get to the portal. And so all we're going to do is when Olm attacks or does a crystal, we're going to click to attack. So now we're in the right cycle. Now we're not in the right cycle, so hold on. We're going to wait for an attack or a special. All right, so there's an attack. And when you're comfortable, you can start doing the 4-to-1 stuff. So now we're going to try to, first of all, actually, we're going to get back out of cycle to de-Warhammer spec again, actually. So just brew up, you know. A lot of times when you're learning, you just have to brew up a little, kind of chill, get back into it. I guess the chaps will give us a little bit more defense here. So right after Olm attacks, we hit the hand. Wow, I'm messing up all over the place. It's okay. We're just gonna chill for a little bit. Sometimes you have to like wait the special out a little. So here we're going to go to the thing, make sure we're dodging all those crystals. We're trying to avoid damage the most we can. That's like mainly the most important thing. So after crystals, if you're in this cycle, it's going to do one more attack, then you could do one more attack, and then now you're into 4-to-1. So see, that was that's like the best explanation I probably could have given, but should have given that right off the bat, but what can you do? So crystals is a really easy special to do it off of, like to get into cycle off of. So if it's around crystals, then it's not going to be too bad. Yeah, that was a mess, but it's okay. It's going to be messy when you're starting out. Like it's just inevitable that it's hard when you're learning, and obviously like I'm de-rusting. You know, that's my excuse. My excuse is I'm rusty, but not really a great excuse when you have like 1,000+ KC, but you know, it's all good. So we have our de-Warhammer out because we want to spec ASAP, get our spec regenning just like the last time. And if you miss, you can obviously spec again with Lightbearer. So here we'll spec again. Here we're resummoning our Thrall. you know, if you forget on melee hand, it's not like the end of the world, because usually you hit pretty accurately, but sometimes on mage you miss, so missing with mage will just mean his head won't turn sometimes, so it can be kind of annoying. So see, I missed the timing a little bit there, so I'm gonna wait there, and then there, because I waited an extra tick, I noticed I was a tick late, and then I basically just pause until the next attack. You can either... It's confusing. It is confusing, I will say. But here, I'll show you like, oh, I messed up. One thing you can do is, well, you can just run like this. One thing is you can just run straight like that. My thrall actually just made it turn, so see there, I didn't even have to attack to make it turn. That is why the thrall is so nice. So you're basically moving between these three zones. So it's like this right hand side, then the left hand side where the thrall will help it turn. And obviously be brewing as you need to. Make sure we stamina. It's a lot about your resources. Here, like, for example, like the Olm hand takes a while, so when you're doing this, you're going to want to be thinking about, like, what can I heal? Like, do I need to eat a prayer? Do I need to get to this portal that's, like, across the room? And obviously just brew here. Yeah, so the rooms are easy. Olm, not so much, not so much. We do want to reprayer enhance. There's like a whole bunch of things to remember here. The problem is there's so many things to remember. Eventually you're going to get used to just remembering all the things you have to remember. So like, make sure you're always staminaing, make sure you're keeping your health relatively high. Caveat being, when your overload is running out, you don't want to be very high HP because the overload's going to heal you 50. So here we put our melee gear back on. And what we can do as well is right after it turns, we can do that. So now we're in the cycle as well. So either right after it turns, and there we see it didn't attack, so now we know we're in the 4-1, because if you attack one last time and Olm doesn't attack, like this part right here where I attack one more time and Olm doesn't attack, that means that we're in the 4-1 essentially, if that's happening at that timing. First step is being on this tick cycle, so essentially you just want to wait for Olm to turn or do an attack, and then one tick after that. So essentially you can react to it doing it. You can see Olm attack, and then click the hand. We could use another D Warhammer spec, but we already hit one, and we want to really have 2 up for our next phase. Eventually this becomes second nature, especially staying in the cycle once you're in it is fairly easy. That's why I'm trying to put a lot of emphasis on how to get into the cycle, which I've probably not done a good enough job at explaining yet, but I will probably try to explain it once more come the 3rd phase. You see what we're doing is just not panicking. We're trying to finish this hand here, make sure we're brewed up pretty high. On this 3rd phase, his melee hand can't cripple, so we can actually just fully start melee hand. 3rd phase, we want to make sure we kill both hands around the same timing. So that's how 3rd phase differs from the other 2. Here we can summon a melee thrall because we know we're going to start melee here. Little trick here is actually, if you start off the phase double D Warhammering, you're already in the cycle that you need to be in. So see here, it's the same thing. Very, very easy. And you can move over here to, that avoids a flame wall, that little movement I did. That's a thing you can do during the cycle as well. Sometimes you see me dodge the flame wall just kind of moving like this. But you can also go all the way into the corner. So you either move at the right timing or move into the corner where it can't hurt you. Probably the corner is the easier way, so I usually move like this. Because if it flame walls there, it just nulls it, which is very nice. We'll do one more hit probably. And see, one thing that's going to be really important for the last phase, here we're just going to walk it off. We're just going to try to run in between the sides to make sure Olm can't really attack us that much. And make sure we're just not taking too much damage from anything. So here we just run out of our overload, so we're going to re-overload. We're trying to just recover from that, essentially. Alright, and back into the cycle here. Obviously, if you mess it up, you just want to try to get back into the cycle. So we're, again, on Mage Hand, attacking every time when Olm turns. Same thing with on this spot, we just drag ourselves exactly when Olm turns. Which actually means you have to click the tick before Olm turns to attack. That's the thing that probably confuses a lot of people on this, so... For Mage Hand, always be on the same tick. And then for Melee Hand, one tick after, always. You'll have a nice easy Olm, in theory. No promises. Olm is sometimes really hard, just saying. But it is pretty chill. Like, once you get good at it, solo Olm is very chill. I really like it. So here we remember we got the melee hand low already. We want to kill these hands around the same time on the third phase. Just trying to finish the hand here. One thing I will say is you do kind of want to kill the melee hand first, just in case. We don't want to let it heal. So like on the last phase, there's like a healing hand special I can do, and you don't want it to do that. Basically in that situation, so definitely kill the melee hand first. Actually, that's one thing I will say. Little mini mistake I made there. So here the main thing is every time we see Olm attack, we want to move into another side. So here sometimes you can slow down a little bit to let him attack, so that you're making him waste the most amount of time, if that makes sense. Because like here we're not going to make it anyway, so we're just going to basically let him attack, let him turn, and now we're going to move to the next side. And now we're starting to move back towards the other side again. Here, when it's acid, we're just gonna... You can make a hit once in a while if you want, but mostly just try to avoid the acid damage. And you may want to, like, actually just walk here, maybe turn off run. So you notice I summoned the ranged thrall. Obviously do that if you can remember. Try to hit whenever you can. Remember that like the ruby bolts can proc even if you're potted down, so don't be afraid to brew down. And oh, wow, it's like I just like spoke it into existence there. I was kind of crazy, but yeah, so just remember you don't really need to be potted for the ruby bolts to proc. Obviously you want to be potted overall, but if you are going to pot down, it's probably not bad to keep attacking. Here we're just trying to dodge these crystals. Also always dodging the stuff on the floor. I kind of didn't even mention that, but that just kind of goes without saying. Obviously, you're going to get hit by some kind of inevitably, but just do your best. Here we're going to re-stam. We want to make sure we're not running out of run. That would be tragic. And again, if you take a couple of crystals, you probably are fine just brewing up a little bit. Burn with me, one of the most annoying phase-specific specials. Gonna brew up, probably a whole brew here. Taking a lot of damage, as you can see. Not easy. I won't lie, soloing isn't exactly easy. Especially if you're in budget gear. It is doable though, you know, that is what I'm trying to show. Trying to show it's doable, although not easy, but if you are dedicated, you can learn it. Obviously, you can even do better than me. I mean, I know a lot of people like to think I'm like a beast, but this is honestly all pretty doable. It's just like, if you just want to practice, you know, you just basically have to practice and you'll get there eventually if you want to learn solos, I think. I think they're really fun as well. I really enjoy Chambers solos. DPS is kind of falling off a cliff here, but I'm gonna try to just finish it off. A couple more shots here. Hopefully we avoid the stuff on the ground. We did it. It was hard. Alright. We did do it though. We did do it. Let's go. Completed a raid. Alrighty guys, hope you enjoyed that one. I really enjoyed making a Chambers of Xeric video. I haven't done a solo in quite a while, so it was quite a bit of fun. Got a strange plant, very good timing, but wow, strange plant just wants to be in the outro, huh? Alright, I mean, strange plant outro, I guess. What else is there to say? Strange plant is here. You could do this if you want to. Obviously, I think any upgrades you can get for Ulm are very, very helpful, but hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know if you want to see more like this in the future, and yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Not sure what that one's going to be, but we'll find out together.